There are some things in this world that money absolutely cannot buy. Now, I'm not just talking about things like health, contentment, joy, satisfaction. Those things are important, but I'm talking about the things that people in this world call luck. You know, sometimes when surprising things happen to us, people say, wow, that's so lucky. For example, last year when we were coming back to the US from India, my husband, he got upgraded to business class, completely free of cost, and we didn't even ask. Do you know that there are some things that money cannot do for us that the favor of God can do? Last week, I went for a haircut. I know this is a pandemic, but it's been a year, so I really wanted to go for a haircut. And guess what? A complete stranger paid for my haircut. In spite of me telling him that I have the means to pay for it, the person was so determined to pay for my haircut. And you know what? That was the most expensive haircut I had in 15 years of living here in the US. During these times, during the pandemic, when everybody is so worried about economy, money, security, their income, someone else paying for my haircut, I'll call that the Lord's favor. Nothing other than that. You know, I've been talking about the 3 seasons in every woman's life, particularly in Esther's life. And Esther is a fantastic example of how she went through season after season or stage after stage. And what is remarkable in Esther's life is in each of those seasons, she had an incredible amount of favor of God on her life. Everyone who saw her had kindness on her. The favor of God on her made people go out of their way to do special things for her. Would you like to be that person with God's favor? So people go out of their way to show you special kindness. In today's video, I want to talk about the season of the signet ring, of how God's favor got her the king's signet ring, so she had the full authority to help her people, the Jews. Esther's story is an amazing story of how God's sovereignty and man's responsibility go hand in hand. You know, most of the confusing things in this life can be clearly understood if we have a good understanding that God's ultimate sovereignty and man's unique responsibility are intermingled in this life. Now, the book of Esther is a classic example of it. You see, Esther fasted and prayed as if everything depended on God, and she acted with courage as if everything depended on her. That's the crux of Esther's story. But I know there are quite a few non-Christians who watch my videos because I hear from you and you write to me. And I want to quickly give you a background of Esther, the Empress of Persia. Esther's story begins with Vashti refusing to obey a command from her husband. Her husband is the Emperor Xerxes. She was therefore dethroned and she was banished from the kingdom. And a search begins for a new queen. Esther is a young Jewish girl. She is selected along with many other women in the Persian kingdom. And she is brought, or she is taken to the king's harem to be prepared, to be groomed, to be in a time of intense preparation, so she is ready to go before the king. You see, Esther is an orphan girl. She is actually from a royal lineage, but both her parents die. And I'll tell you how she is from a royal lineage, a royal descendant, maybe in the next video. But because she is an orphan girl, she was raised by her older cousin, Mordecai. And as the story goes, King Xerxes was so pleased with Esther that among all the virgins that were gathered, he makes her the queen of Persia. But then, here comes the villain. There happens to be a certain very high-ranking official in the kingdom called Haman. He absolutely hates Mordecai because Mordecai refuses to bow down to him as a show of respect. And because of that reason, he hates all the Jews and he decides to kill the Jewish people in the kingdom. And he goes to the king, he tricks the king into issuing a decree, an edict, condemning the Jews to death. And of course, Esther rises up to the situation and she takes this huge step of courage and becomes very instrumental in the deliverance of all the Jews in Persia. But why are the Jews in Persia, you may ask? Well, because the kingdom of Judah was taken captive by the Babylonian king. Back then it was Nebuchadnezzar, and they were taken captive to Babylon, which then became Persia later on. And because of Esther's courage, the Jewish people to this day celebrate a festival called Purim, honoring and commemorating, remembering the day that they were delivered in the land of captivity. And a very interesting thing is, throughout the book of Esther, there is absolutely no mention of the words prayer or God in it. But we see God's fingerprints throughout this book, His work, His miracles, profound answers to deep agonies, God's sovereignty working alongside man's responsibility very clearly throughout this book. There is absolutely no denying God's presence in this book. One key thing that propelled Esther from one season to the next, from being an orphan girl to becoming the empress with the king's signet ring, was favor, the favor of God. When she had to be in the season of seclusion, preparing quietly in private, cooperating during correction, she had the favor of Hegai and everyone in the harem. In the season of celebration, when she was supposed to go in front of the king, she had the favor that made her the queen. When she was called to pay the cost to her crown, she had to go stand in front of the king. Even when it was not her time to go, she was granted her request because she had the favor of the king. Now, in this season of the signet ring, the king shows Esther favor by giving her his signet ring. He shows that he is pleased with her by giving her his seal of authority, his ultimate irreversible seal. You know, favor is so powerful. God's favor is absolutely powerful. God giving us the ability to be or do something that we humanly cannot do. In our own strength we cannot do. On our own is absolutely impossible. That is God's favor. Let me read a few verses of how Esther was shown God's favor in her life. Let's turn to Esther chapter 2, reading from verse 8. Esther also was taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Hegai, who was in charge of the harem. She pleased him and won his favor. Verse 15. Esther won the favor of everyone who saw her. Verse 17. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than to any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen. Let's go to chapter 5, verse 2. When he saw Queen Esther standing in the court, he was pleased with her and held out to her the golden scepter that was in his hand. We pray for God's favor on ourselves, our children, our dear ones. But did you ever think what really brings God's favor on us? What causes God to have favor on certain people? You know, I found 3 things in Esther's life, 3 qualities that made her stand out. They caused the special favor of God to rest on her life. Like bees are attracted to flowers, God's favor was attracted to her. Now, if you want to enter into the season of the signet ring, where God envelops you with favor and gives you influence and authority in the spiritual realm, to do amazing things, to do mighty things for Him, to command and decree victories in the natural and even in the spiritual realms, you need to have these qualities. The first quality that I found in Esther is submission. Submission is not an exciting word. It's not a glamorous word. In fact, if I'm really honest, it makes you grunt. It makes you roll your eyes all the way to the back of your head. Submission is hard. It's hard to be under authority, march to someone else's drum and follow instructions that are obviously not from your own mind. To obey other people's commands is hard. But strangely, submission to whichever authority that God has placed over you brings God's favor and blessings on your life. Esther submitted to her guardian Mordecai when she was with him. She submitted to Hegai when she was in the harem, and she submitted herself to her husband the king when she was in the palace. Wherever she was, she yielded to authority and submitted willingly in obedience. And that's why in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6, it says, "Therefore humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you at the proper time." When we respect the authority that God placed over us, we are not just obeying the person that's in authority, but we are actually honoring God, and God will reward us. It's not the person who will reward us, but God will reward us in special ways. Children are meant to obey and submit to their parents. Wives are supposed to respect and submit to their husbands. Employees are expected to submit to their employers, and people in general are required to obey the laws of the government. But if this structure is messed up, society, what happens to it? It ends up in chaos. Submission and obedience brings God's favor and blessing. Sometimes we may not like it, but that's what is the order. The second thing that I found in Esther's life is courage. Most of us remember Esther for her courageous act, this one quality or virtue that made her very famous and celebrated and well known. Her courage to risk her crown, her position, and even her life to plead for her people, to beseech the king, to save their lives that were sold for slaughter. That courage brought favor on her. C.S. Lewis has a beautiful quote. He says, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but it is a form of every virtue at its testing point. Loyalty at its testing point requires courage. Love at its testing point requires courage. Commitment at its point of testing requires courage. If you take forgiveness, responsibility, honesty, generosity, you take any virtue, when it comes to its testing point, when it comes to its point of challenge, it requires courage to go further. Sometimes we think we love, or we give, or we forgive, or we are committed, or we are honest, but only when it gets risky, that is when we will really know if we are loving or giving or forgiving, or if we are committed. When it gets risky is when we truly know whether we have passed or failed the test. Esther passed the test. She learned that true satisfaction only comes when we take risks for God and for people. Jim Elliot, you may have known him. He's a very famous missionary. He said, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." I'll say that again. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. He and 4 other missionary friends gave their life for the Aucas, the South American people of the country of Ecuador. A lot of times, we want everything around us to be secure. We put safe nets around us. We absolutely hate the word risk. "Well, I'm not taking that risk" is a common statement we make. We treasure security, although we know that security in this world carries absolutely no guarantees. There is no such thing as a risk-free life. Someone said, to live without risk is to risk not living. To live without a risk is to risk not living at all. When you don't take a risk, you're actually not really living your life. Esther is in her favored position. She risked her crown, her life, for other people. She attempted to see the king even when he had not requested for her, which was actually a big deal back then. There was no guarantee that the king would even see her. Although she was the queen, she was still not secure. But cautiously and courageously, Esther decided to take a risk. She stepped out for her people. Jim Rohn once said, "If you're not living to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. If you're not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary." If Esther didn't risk the unusual, she would have fallen out of the favor of God. The courage to live the life that we are called to live attracts God's favor on our lives. When we courageously take a step for God, God will do things for us that money absolutely cannot buy or do. He will open doors that are not humanly possible in our own strength, and He will cause people to have special kindness upon us, to do favors for us that we can't comprehend. Our courage attracts God's favor. The third quality that attracts God's favor is wisdom. You know, women and wisdom go hand in hand, or at least they should. But in this world, people think that women and beauty go hand in hand. You know, the Bible says a beautiful woman without wisdom is like a golden ring on a pig's snout. A woman without good judgment, without good discernment, who lacks good reasoning, good understanding, is a foolish woman. Even though she is beautiful, she is an empty-headed person. She is like a gold ring in the nose of a pig. It absolutely looks hilarious, doesn't it? It makes no sense at all. It's of no value. But beautiful Esther lived life with godly wisdom. She sure was a very wise woman who not only built her house, but built her nation, her people. She maintained confidentiality where it was needed. She knew where and how to keep a secret. She showed submission to her authorities, and she was very humble in her approach. You know what Esther had? She had what people now call emotional intelligence. You may know that emotional intelligence, also called as EQ, is considered more desirable than IQ. You may have known that certain employers now have incorporated emotional intelligence assessments or tests into their application and interview process, into their recruiting process, on the assumption that people with high emotional intelligence would make a better leader or a co-worker. Esther knew how to process her emotions very well in a balanced way, and she was very aware of other people's emotions as well. You know, the Bible says a gentle answer turns away wrath. In the same way, a soft asking gently obtains favor. You know, some of us need to learn how to ask our husbands or even other people. Sometimes the way we ask is so rude that instead of producing favor on us, it incurs more wrath. Let's read a few verses to see how wise her approach was. Let's turn to Esther chapter 5, reading from verses 4. Esther said, "If it pleases the king, may the king and Haman come this day to the banquet that I have prepared for him." If it pleases the king. See how gentle her approach is? Let's keep reading from verse 6 of the same chapter. As they were drinking wine, the king again asked Esther, "Now, what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted." Esther replied, "My petition and my request is this. If the king regards me with favor, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the banquet I will prepare for them. Then I will answer the king's question." Again, chapter 7, verse 3. "If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request." You know, she was very wise in how she approached the king. Her soft and wise asking obtained favor for her. She timed her requests very well. Esther was a woman of submission. She was a woman of courage, and she was a woman of wisdom. All of those three qualities, special qualities, attracted God's favor. May you be under the special favor of God. May the fear of the Lord teach us wisdom and courage to live our lives in these difficult days. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was a blessing for you. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you again next week.